Welcome to the 17th episode of the 240p Club.
Only one more and then we can start smoking during the podcast.
Yeah.
You start doing that, I'll throw you out the window.
She will. She studied Taekwondo.
I'm strong, I have big muscles.
No.
You lift, bro?
Nah.
I really don't have muscles.
You don't lift.
No.
Do you even?
No!
Anyway, we are discussing... What are we discussing, Ray?
What have we played recently?
Okay, that works. There was a nice little blizzard that hit our area. Mid-March blizzard. That was fun, even though it was like springtime for an entire week or two before snow started coming in. Temperature dropped to like freezing, and all of a sudden, bam, we had some snow on the ground. So it's like, okay, we're snowed in, nothing to do. If you've been following the page, and judging by the post likes, you haven't. If you've been following their Facebook page, we had some Blizzard supplies in and just started playing all kinds of retro gaming. Ray actually took charge there. What have you been playing? Because I know you've been playing a whole ton.
I was doing a little bit of playing and I came across this NES game called Godzilla. Like the very first Godzilla game ever released, I believe.
I've never heard of Godzilla. Who is this Godzilla you speak of?
Really?
I don't know. I'm kidding. I think most of our listening audience has heard of Godzilla, but if you have to research this is, I don't even know who made the game, to be honest with you, but it looked like a strategy game mixed with a platformer. Is that like a kind of accurate description?
I'd say it's just more like sort of a button mashing game. Like, you run around other planets, like, just kind of destroying the scenery, and eventually, like, you run into other monsters too. I mean, first of all, the first two monsters you run into are like Ghidorah and Mothra, who like didn't even appear in Godzilla movies till like way after this game was released. They had their own standalone movies, but then eventually you end up fighting monsters like Baragon, Gigan, who's a pain in the ass in this game, by the way. And King Ghidorah is like the final boss of the game.
That makes sense.
The goal of the game actually isn't to destroy all the monsters, it's just to make it to the ends of these planets and, like, I don't know, destroy the base at the end.
Just like a battle royal, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a strange port because it wasn't really based on any of the Godzilla movies that I'm aware of. I know he did, like, what was it, Planet X, I think, or something like that. But I think
Speaking of planets, I also really love how the planet you're supposedly on appears in the background of every level. Like, it's kind of a weird paradox.
So you fighting on the moon of the planet, or what's going on there?
I guess so, even though I don't remember any of the moons having, like, all these vines and shit.
Well, I don't know. There's a game called Out of This World, I think, that's based on a moon, artificial climate in the middle of the solar system. I think of like one of the moons of Saturn or something. Right. Am I thinking of Out of This World, or am I thinking something else? I think it's Out of This World.
Are you thinking of the game that's also known as Another World in Europe? Originally for the Amiga. It's on the Super Nintendo here as Out of This World.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a Genesis version too, or like a similar game. I don't think it was like it might have been a sequel or like, you know, a different company doing a different interpretation of it, but yeah, basically you wound up, the first level was a jungle, and you know, it was an artificial moon on, like, I think it's Titan, with one of the moons of Saturn. So obviously it took place in the future, and you know, it was I think man-made. So I guess, you know, for Godzilla that would make sense, but you know, who knows.
I mean, you are fighting, like, this army of people from, like, this distant planet, Planet X. So I guess it's feasible. Maybe they made all these artificial moons and shit.
I guess. That's the only way you could, like, logically explain away a serious flaw in NES logic. Makes sense, though. Nikki, what have you been playing?
Well, when I actually did have time to play, I had spring break last week, and while everyone was doing their little trips, like, I went to Cancun, I went to Florida, I went here, I went there. I did go see my favorite band once or twice. It was fun. And then I was snowed in for practically the rest of the week. So I've just been studying for my 2 exams because I knew as soon as I came back from spring break, I would have exams. Of course, today I had a statistics exam. At the end of the week, I'm going to have motor behavior, so I really don't have too much time to play. But I did play a little bit last week. I played a little bit of Mega Man 7. Forgot just how difficult that game was. But, you know, I died a lot. But
I still have some codes somewhere. I haven't played that game in years.
Yeah, I've found new ways to die every time.
Creative ways of killing
Yeah,
yourself.
perhaps we can do a YouTube exhibition.
Yep, the many deaths of Mega Man.
Yep, by Nikki. And then, in the middle of that, I downloaded a game on my smartphone called Fire Emblem Heroes. I've been meaning to get into that series, like, for a while. I just couldn't find the right gateway to get in. There's just so many games, so many characters, so many different scenarios. I didn't know where to start, so...
Is that like a freemium game? Like,
you pretty much, like, the game itself is free, but you have to, like, if you want to buy more orbs, you can. If you want to buy, like, different power-ups, you can. Which, I mean, it's a cute game, you know. Anytime I just want to pick up my phone and play, it's there. So, I started playing this other game called, I believe it was the first or second game in the series. It's called Mystery of the Emblem, for the SNES. I like it. It's cute. It's also incredibly slow. And it's not your traditional RPG where it's like, it's turn-based, and by turn-based I mean you move your characters on the grid, and then you decide... Is
that like... They made a game, the Shining Force team. Shining Force was... we discussed in our RPG podcast. It was a Genesis game that is made by some of the people that made the Sonic the Hedgehog games. It's basically... It was a strategy RPG where, you know, battles were on a battlefield and you had to move units and attack, like, you know, the enemy's units. And basically you won by taking out either the enemies, reaching a certain objective, or if you lose, you know, you lost because your commander, lost the battle. You know,
it is similar, yeah. You, yes, it is similar. You do fight on the battlefield turn-based, and you have to approach your opponent and fight.
Attack.
So
yeah. It's like, I'm not sure if this is the same series. I didn't really have a chance to research this, but all our fans at home can, tell me how wrong or how right I am. There's a game only released in Japan called Feka the Emblem of Justice, which is, I think, similar.
Not sure.
It was basically Shining Force on the Super NES, but I might be connected somehow, maybe.
I'm not sure.
It's
yeah,
possible.
I'm still fairly, I guess, new to the Fire Emblem series, so, you know, but...
Yeah, I never really played any of the Fire Emblem games, so this is all I'm going with there. Mm-hmm. From what I hear, they're similar, but, you know, the old fans of Shining Force don't really like Fire Emblem too much for some odd reason. I don't know. I don't get into these gamers' quarrels or whatever.
One thing that's... I'm assuming it's the same thing in Shining Force also, when you lose a teammate, they die, like, permanently, like, they're done.
Oh, no, there's nothing, no. If you lose a teammate, they're gone for the rest of the battle, there's no way to resurrect them.
Yeah, in Fire Emblem, that's it.
But no, they reappear at the end. Like, you can go to a priest and they resurrect all your dead, companions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can, like, when you go into villages in the middle of the battle, you can heal your characters, but once they're dead, they're...
See, that's the thing. Like, in Shining Force, there was no going into the village during a battle. Like, you had to finish the battle, or, the hero character had a spell called Egress, which basically sends you to the last save point. Mm-hmm. So, if you were taking heavy losses, you could just, do that, resurrect your characters, go fight another battle to try to build up some experience, and then get to work over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's very, very different.
Yeah.
Like I said, you lose an ally and forget about it. They're done for the rest of the game.
And then we're also talking about a game that was made in 2016 versus a game that was made in 1993.
Yeah, I believe so.
So-
And I think it was remade for the DS, like, much later on down the road.
Yeah, there's Fire Emblem made for the DS, I think.
Yeah, there was,
Fire Emblem Heroes or something, or...
no, that's the one for the phone.
Wasn't there also a Pokemon Fire Emblem?
I'm not
No, it's Pokemon Sapphire, Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah.
Sapphire.
The only game that Pokemon ever crossed with was Samurai Warriors Nobunaga's Ambition. So it was a really cute game, and I have it, of course. But it was interesting. It's like not really RPG-ish, but it's more so like you go from one gym to the next as if you're fighting battles. So it's pretty cute.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Fluent, what have you been playing?
I got a hold of No More Heroes for the Wii. It's actually a beat-em-up-esque type of game. It's pretty solid.
Oh, that's cool. Anything
I love No More Heroes. I'm sorry. Loved it.
Anything like retro gaming you've been playing?
I actually revisited via an emulator the Game Gear version of Power Rangers. It's actually pretty solid.
I've never played the Game Gear version.
It's actually
Neither have
solid.
I.
The SNES one's cool. SNES or Genesis, one of them. I got one of them.
I got
know,
the SNES one.
I know
I do
a
love
lot
both
of people.
those cartridges actually.
Yeah, a lot of people are revisiting them because the movie's coming out. So,
And I think
or
there was.
by the time this is published, it'll already be out.
Yeah, there was that marathon on Twitch also where they were doing all the series from Mighty Morphin to whatever's the current one now.
Oh yeah. Twitch is
Any of the Japanese games, like, I know there was a Famicom version of Zyu Ranger, which was basically the Japanese version of the original Power
the
Rangers.
Super Sentai.
Yes. That was the year they originally pulled from, where they had, like, the Dinozords.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know. I think they had, as far as I'm aware, for 16-bit, they had the Power Rangers game, then they had the Power Rangers movie game. Mm-hmm. And then they had something for the Sega CD. It was basically like an interactive episode. I mean, it's not even worth talking about.
It's an innovative idea, but they just couldn't pull it off too well.
Yeah, well, the technology was limited back in the day, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't really...
If they tried it now, maybe.
Yeah, if they did it now, which I could see someone trying this, like, with the technology we have these days, it'd be pretty easy to pull off. And all of a sudden, you just have to press buttons here and there in order, obviously you'd market this for kids, like, because, if you do it right, there's no way you could lose,
Are we finally going to have Bulk and Skull as playable characters?
That would be funny. Hey, I'm waiting for someone to break out the Power Rangers fighting game. It's going to happen eventually.
Oh, yeah.
The nice part about the Nintendo Switch coming out actually is
There actually was one on Super Nintendo. They've played the Zords. It's called Tournament
Yeah.
Fighter.
oh, well, the Tournament Fighter.
Yeah.
That's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, isn't it?
No, there was a Power
Rangers one,
with,
too?
They have all the Zords fighting.
Ooh, I'll have to research that, definitely.
They actually have the cartridge.
Yeah, like I was saying, though, with the Nintendo Switch coming out, Nintendo seems to be, they're hurting for licenses right now, but, they're getting a lot of indie game support for the system. I know Shovel Knight was ported over to that, and a few other, like, 8-bit styled games.
Yeah, I think the Switch is getting
Toe
more.
Jam and they're all going to be ported in brand new one they just made, which is very, very similar to the Genesis version. So it's looking like, thanks to the Nintendo Switch coming out, it's looking like they're going to be supporting a lot of indie designers, and a lot of indie designers are creating a lot of these like retro style games. So we might see stuff like that. We might start seeing like the Power Rangers fighting game. Granted, they could get all the licenses and stuff.
Perhaps translate some Japanese games that never made it here.
That would be nice.
Actually, I believe, speaking of which, there was Senken Densetsu, I believe. They're actually doing a pack of that, which I believe will be on the Switch.
Oh, nice. Which the second
Translated.
Second Densetsu was Shigeru Mana.
I believe, yeah. I have to double check the article my friend posted on Facebook around, but they had mentioned, I believe there was a 3-pack with it.
Yeah, I think I know they made a sequel. I don't know if they made 3 games, but that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Play those 3, visit those again. Secret of Mana was a classic for the Super Nintendo. I don't know how well it held up these days, but it's still considered a classic. So to get your hands on, even though it's a very rare cartridge to track down.
I believe there's
Definitely worth it.
another RPG that should be coming out. I don't know if it's going to be for the Switch, maybe for the 3DS. Radiant Historia, I think, was another one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the RPGs are coming. This is what the system really is made for. Like, unfortunately, it's not a true portable because the battery only lasts like 2 hours. But, we'll have a full review once we get our hands on one.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's all things Nintendo. Supplies are limited. Act now. You won't get one.
I really
for a while.
do want to play Breath of the Wild, but
Everyone does. Right, didn't you require Breath of the Wild?
no time for it.
Yes, I did buy it for the Wii U recently. I have yet to play it.
Not time.
Not time yet.
No, I'll play it eventually. It's
Everyone's going like crazy over it. I mean, it was like a certified Nintendo smash hit.
Oh, absolutely.
It's getting the same reaction that Zelda 64 got back in the day.
Oh god, I remember when that came out.
Ocarina of Time. Like, everyone still talks about Ocarina of Time as like this unadulterated classic.
Some say it's the greatest Zelda game of all time.
Yeah, I'm the traditional old school, so I'm not gonna go with Zelda 3, Link to the Past.
That's my favorite too.
That's my personal favorite.
First one was very good too.
Oh, obviously, the first one was like an absolute classic. Second one, even though everyone bashes the second one, I loved the second one. I will do a Twitch at the second one sometime soon.
If I can find a way to Twitch Link's Awakening, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. So what else have we been doing while we've been snowed in? Anyone bust out some old school PC gaming?
My computer actually cannot handle any kind of PC gaming.
Well, I'm talking old school, like, it's like abandonware stuff from DOSBox and... Oh, man.
It can't play anything past a certain year, and it can't play anything, like...
Before a certain year?
Before a certain year, can't play anything past a certain year.
You gotta get DOSBox.
I need a new computer.
That too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to get DOSBox in order to play some of these. Like, it works well with my system. I don't have like any sort of high-end system whatsoever because I don't have time to play like newer PC games. But I have enough like space on my computer to play some old school stuff, and I actually tracked down the original StarCraft and StarCraft expansion Brood War. I have not played those in years. I've played, obviously, StarCraft 2, like, quite a bit. Like, I do love StarCraft 2, but it's like, when I was a kid, I used to play StarCraft, back in high school. And I was never really that good at it, but you know what? It was, like, worth revisiting. So I tracked it down. I'm playing it again. It's like, man, I forgot how fun this game was. So, yeah, that was what I was doing for the Blizzard. I was playing StarCraft. Busted out the original Doom, because Doom runs on anything. Someone got it running on a TI-83 calculator, which is insane. I don't know quality, but hey. And also, there's a video of someone on a newer Apple computer. I think they got it running on like the preview bar or something, which is like this little bar thing, like a touchscreen.
Which you can see on our Facebook, because we shared it.
We did, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Anyway, yeah, the Doom runs on just about anything, so I was playing it on the PC via DOSBox. I didn't pirate it. I have like 4 different versions of it, including I bought it like for the PS3, the retro download. I have for PC. I have it. I bought a version for PC that was the old school one. It had basically to download these like in the original DOS format. You had to run some like trickery, and basically if you had the it's called a WAD file, which is the levels of Doom. Like, this is basically the meat and potatoes of Doom. So if you had that, then you could run the game. And fortunately, the downloads never unzipped for some reason. So I wound up tracking down my old CD, finding the file on the disc, and installing it that way. So henceforth, my Doom works pretty well, and it's fun. Heretic was another game on the Doom engine I've been playing. All ID software, like, based off ID's engine. All fun games.
Is there a port of that on the N64 or not?
Not Heretic, Hexen.
Excellent. Okay.
Hexen was the sequel to that, and yeah, that got ported to Nintendo 64. It's an awesome game, actually. The PC version was the absolute best, though. I could still play that to this day. But yeah, no, I was exploring some PC gaming, and thanks to Ray over here, Phantasy Star 2. Basically, when Ray said he was playing that for his Blizzard game, I decided, like, yeah, I'm going to finally beat it. I'm going to crack it open and see what I can do. And I got farther than I ever did before, but I just remember, like, it's such a hard, like, old-school RPG. Very frustrating.
You do have to do a bit of grinding at some points.
Do a lot of grinding.
Especially since every new character you get starts at level 1.
Yes, naturally you got to grind. Actually, most of them I found have been useless. I've just been the only new character I got. Like, you know, obviously you get Rudo pretty early, and Amy, you know, that completes your team. But otherwise, after that, the only character I've ever used aside from the other new ones was Anna, and I had to level up Sheer the Thief to like level 10 in order to steal stuff. Because I did cheat a bit, looked on a walkthrough, like, because I've been playing this game since I was a little kid and can never really get as far. And the dungeons are so frustrating, it's like, I give up. I'm not spending 5-6 hours trying to figure this shit out.
If you're in the middle of the game, you get this character named Kine, who, like, specializes in, like, destroying robots. And since most of the enemies at that point are robots that have never appeared before, he suddenly actually becomes useful. Whereas he was useless when you got him initially, most likely. And then there's this other character named Hugh who can only like do status ailments and attack like the bio monsters, i.e. anything that isn't a robot. And he gradually like sinks in usefulness at the same point in the game.
Now, I know the bio monsters go away and they're replaced with robots at one point. So,
Skynet, man.
yep, Skynet.
No, the Skynet, yep.
So the only other character I've used in that game was Anna, and she's only useful if you're fighting like groups of the same enemy. Like if you have 3 or 4 of the same enemy, you know, she becomes deadly.
You have to never ever give her a shield. Always give her 2 of the slasher weapons.
None of my characters have shields.
Or the Sloman shield.
No, eventually late in the game, a shield becomes the better option when, like, you just can't cut it with physical attacks. And you end up getting these items that, like, cast spells that hit every monster, like, infinite use. So you just switch to that at that point.
Oh yeah, I think I stole a couple of those. Like via the point of the game I'm at. I'm actually like right before the climate troll part, like in the middle of this ocean. So I got to grind that eventually. I'm leveled up like pretty high. Like I'm level 16 for that point of the game, which is actually fairly high. So I should be able to do that no problem. It's just actually sitting down and playing it again.
And we have discussed this game before, like in a countdown, I believe. But the dungeon design in that game is just ridiculous.
It's Phantasy Star 1's dungeons. I know we talked about this. I know this is kind of redundant at this point, so I'll be brief. Phantasy Star 1's dungeons were like first person and can be mapped very easily on a grid. They were confusing, but if you had a map like on a grid, it's not bad. Phantasy Star 2's dungeons were just murder. Like the Tower of Nido, I just wanted to throw the controller after a while because you were in all these rooms that seemed like they were just repeating themselves over and over and over. And don't even get me started on Uzo, the friggin' mountain. That was ridiculous.
There is another dungeon, like, really late in the game where you just, like, have to fall down pits to get these, like, 2 items. And, like, if you fall down the wrong holes, you have to, like, walk through this, like, giant room to get to a staircase, go all the way back up, and then try to figure out what holes to fall down again.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when I was playing Sailor Moon, Another Story, and I was trying to get out of the Black Moon's castle, Prince Diamond's castle, because you had to be careful of which tile you stepped on, because
The princess is in another castle?
I guess. Yeah, because Chibi Moon was trying to rescue her mother from Prince Diamond, who wanted to marry her. Or either he wanted to marry her, or he wanted to
Find King Diamond?
Take her out of the picture so that the Silver Crystal's Utopia could be destroyed. But Anyway, any tile that I would go into, I would have to fight another boss if I went to the wrong tile. Eventually, I got to the right one, you know, blah, 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 you know what happened. You've seen the anime, you know what happens.
Yeah, the old school RPG design is, like, crazy. This is why, like, some of these games, like, most of the newer generation is never going to attempt, because they get too frustrated with, like, some of the dungeon designs and some of the, just the ridiculousness of some of the shit. Like, Phantasy Star was notorious for it. You had to grind before you could even start your quest. You know, you couldn't just pick it up and wind up in a dungeon. It wasn't even fixed, really, until Final Fantasy V, let's be honest with you. That was the first game I ever, like, where you could pick up and play without any serious grinding going on. Although, it did help to grind in certain parts, grind some levels, farm some experience, because, you know, you are going to get far without that.
That's what I was doing with 4 before something happened to my file.
I had to just track down a file and give it to you,
yeah.
so you'll be.
I was like, I want to go back to where I was,
yeah.
But like that, I don't know. It's not like I have this addiction to grinding or anything. But in any game that I play, I grind. I just grind as much as I possibly can.
I did that. I guess that's why I didn't like Final Fantasy VIII so much, because they discourage grinding. You could technically finish the game at level 12, and it'd be a little easier. You know, but Final Fantasy VIII was the exception rather than the norm. Like, this is why I won't stream RPGs so much, or if I do, I'll do all the grinding ahead of time before I attempt something. Yeah, it's basically, you need to be a certain level, and, it's when you're on Twitch and you're grinding, it gets really boring fast.
It does. That's why, I tried to play Nobunaga's Ambition on Twitch, and I found myself, I like the game, but I found myself getting bored. I'm thinking, if I'm getting bored, you're getting bored. So.
Yeah. Speaking of, old school, PC games kind of like that, too. I don't know if you've played a whole lot of the point-and-click adventures, but, they don't really hold up, to modern gaming, to be honest with you, but at the same time, they do, because, basically it's like revisiting, the past of gaming. You're looking into basically how you used to have to control games and stuff. You had to form commands using the words at the bottom, using your mouse, basically. And, the later, strategy games kind of put, hotkeys onto the keyboard, so you just hit something and an action happens. Warcraft 2 is good for that. The right mouse button automatically moved your characters, or if you were over an enemy, it would automatically attack them, depending on what your mouse was clicking. So, that was an innovation that was definitely welcomed in the point-and-click world, but back, playing some of these old school games, they don't really hold up as much today, but at the same time they do, especially Monkey Island was one of my favorite games. Secret of Monkey Island.
I think they have some point-and-click games that are out now. I think Telltale Studios does a few of them, like Walking Dead, Batman. I think they did, Minecraft.
I think it's more. This is a topic I do want to discuss, actually. Leading into that. When we're talking some retro games, are we talking more a nostalgia factor for us because we're older, whereas a younger generation wouldn't get some of this stuff? Or are we talking a genuine love of some of these games that, basically any era would love to pick up?
I would say it's a little bit of both, maybe.
Nostalgia
we obviously love these games, and, nostalgia just, puts, a warm feeling in our blackened hearts. So...
Yeah, it's less nostalgia. I guess in that case, less nostalgia, more
so just genuine love for these games.
80-20, love for the game, nostalgia.
We wouldn't be playing these games if we didn't like them. So,
That's true.
It's not like we're just playing this because we feel we have to beat this game for brownie points, but...
Let's just say we find, a 15-year-old, on a PC somewhere. I don't know many 15-year-olds. My niece is the only one.
Yeah, I don't know.
My niece isn't even a modern gamer, so. But let's just say, find a random 15-year-old, Call of Duty fan, etc., playing all night. power goes out on their internet router. You know, they have a laptop up and running. You know, they have their older brother's laptop, let's just say. He's got some of these installed on DOSBox, you know, and somehow, theoretically, knows instructions on how to play some of these. Do you think he'd be able to appreciate a game like Doom or Hexen after playing Call of Duty forever?
I think there's a big generational gap, honestly. I think he may not enjoy it as much as we did because, like I said, we grew up in this era.
Yes, that's the nostalgia factor right
there.
there.
Yeah, it would be nostalgia in that case.
For us, it'd be nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like,
in that scenario.
Whereas, like, be honest, me, I can't pick up a Call of Duty because I'd just be too bored.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, like, have enough time to figure out the controls, and then after that, it's just, alright, what's the point? Like, EA wants me to purchase all this shit, so...
The game also gives me extreme migraine, so... Yeah, it's one reason why I don't play Overwatch. I mean, I know there's, like, this huge hype, huge fan base for Overwatch and everything.
God.
It's just... I can't.
You don't like Overwatch, right?
I'm not really a big fan.
I mean, the game in itself looks cool, but...
Just like anything that has, like, a fan base that huge for, like, a genre that I only, like, selectively, like games for...
The fan base does seem pretty problematic at times.
I know it's a big fan base, but, you know, especially, like, in this era with, like, online gaming.
I guess it was different with Undertale because I did genuinely like that game. And it was in a genre I was, like, more comfortable with, I guess.
Makes sense. I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, with Overwatch, I can understand, like, you know, some of the other players, like, basically rage quitting and doing all this stuff, but that's been going on since internet gaming was out, so...
I think it's more... It's not even really the rage quitting. The thing that people argue and fight about the most with the Overkill fandom is shipping. Shipping. Like,
Overkill
basically...
fandom.
Yeah. Basically, who's effing who? Like, you know.
Oh, in the game storyline, or, like, actual in real life?
No. Like in fandom-wise, like, fan fiction stuff.
Oh!
Yeah, like, say, okay, we can't put Tracer with Hanzo because Tracer is a canon lesbian. Okay, well, we want to try to canonize her with, was it Widowmaker or so? Well, you can't do that now. Tracer has a girlfriend, so she's off limits. Okay, well, we tried to...
So they get all up in arms when Blizzard puts out, like, official story...
Well, they were really happy when she was canonized as a lesbian, which is a cool thing, you know. Hey, cool, she's got a relationship going. But when they try to pair her with someone like McCree or something, they're like, well, you can't do that. First off, she's 18 years old. Secondly, she's in a committed lesbian relationship. She cannot be with a man. But some people decide, okay, well, maybe they talk pretty well. They kind of talk pretty nice to each other, so let's put them together. And then all of a sudden the fandom will jump on them and say, no. It's shipping wars is not a new thing. I mean, when I was in second grade, we played shipping wars with the Mortal Kombat cartoon. I mean...
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, it's basically... That's been going on since the internet was really, like, accessible.
Yeah, I mean, there is...
Back when you had to find this shit on bulletin board systems.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of bullying as far as shipping wars goes with Overwatch, and that's one of the things that really turned me off from the game itself.
Yeah, we used to be able to handle, like, dumbasses like that. Like, we fought, like, I used to play Ultima Online, and that was, I think, one of the first, it wasn't the first, I know that, but it was one of the first, like, MMORPGs, and... It attracted, like, you know, people from all walks. There was big fights between people that wanted to roleplay, basically, to stay in the story, and people who wanted to just say, this is a game, like, stop talking like a medieval dunce, you know, just play the friggin' game like it should be. Like, you know, power gaming, that's where that term really originated. Like, people, you know, people that just did whatever it took, like, in order to get their character most powerful, including, like, you know, macro trainer programs and stuff to, like, let your character, like, hit it like a, you know, a dummy, or, like, you know, battle something, like, while you're basically away from the computer. You know, basically, or set up, like, a macro, you know, to, like, tailor, like, a couple suits, you know, sell them and, like, farm gold that way. there's a whole lot. Basically, it was highly contested. Role players didn't like the fact that these players were coming in and ruining their medieval fantasy. And on the opposite side, the player killers just wanted to basically have a place where they could kill, and basically this is the only way to keep this game competitive. You can only do dungeons so much before it gets ridiculously boring. The real meat and potatoes of most of these games is fighting other players or other guilds. So eventually, the EA or Origin, they weren't owned by EA at the time, decided to just make more and more of these, basically changes they put in a patch. Hey, fans want this, we could, just kind of accommodate them here. So they put a guild system in, and et cetera, and it still caused a shitstorm on message boards and everything. But back in the 90s, bullying wasn't really focused as much until basically, 99 when those assholes shot up the school in Colorado. But, before that time, it was, bullying was hey, handle them somehow, or, hit the block or ignore button. Mm-hmm. But, that's been going on since, MMORPGs were out, since online gaming was out, bullying, shit-talking on message boards, all that stuff. So it's I can't really fault a game for an idiot fan base, because idiot mm-hmm. fan bases have been around since long before an Xbox was around, the original Xbox. It's just it's gotten to the point where everyone plays and just kind of expect this shit, which is sad. But you have to have a thick skin about stuff, because half the time it's some little punk that's just there to try to troll and get a rise out of you. That's how they get their jollies,
Mm-hmm. That, and really, I'm just not good at Overwatch. I'm not good at first-person shooters.
I don't have patience to play these.
No. I mean, it looks like, when I saw commercials for it looked really cool. All the characters look pretty engaging and everything, and I played the demo. I'm like, wow, I suck at first-person shooters.
The last time I got engaged in a first-person shooter was Quake 2. Mm-hmm. I used to play that every afternoon, because I had a whole list of servers. It's just join and play. It didn't really have to communicate much with people. It's just, the deathmatch, just, hey, that's a player, kill him. Or, basically you hone your skills that way. And there was, an unwritten code of conduct, but, for the most part, that was the last, FPS I really got into.
I think mine was GoldenEye for the 64. I love that movie. I love the game. I used to always play Rebellion.
The game is still a classic.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing like getting drunk at a party with a bunch of 30-something-year-olds. Hey, who wants to play GoldenEye?
Oh yeah, dude.
And you're like, oh shit.
Yo, I'd rather do that than some college frat party.
Hey, as I've been to some college frat parties where they're playing Mario Kart, and
it's always GoldenEye or Mario Kart.
Yeah,
GoldenEye
or Mario Party.
I hopped into Unreal Tournament when that was out. I still love that game's soundtrack, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I love the Quake soundtrack. Quake and Quake 2. Quake was done by Trent Reznor, the soundtrack, and Quake 2 was done by Rob Zombie.
Mm.
That's a rumor, I think.
No, it's true. I literally he has credit on the box. I have the box hanging up there. I could get it, if you want to see it.
That's okay.
All I see is Samael. Hey.
Man, I have a few old school gaming boxes up there. So, yeah, it's part of my collection. I like collecting some of these things. StarCraft is awesome.
It's hard to collect boxes now. A lot of games are digital.
Yeah, I know, but it's a lost art collecting some boxes. Actually, I could open up some of those, and they'd probably have some instruction booklets and maybe some posters. Ooh. I still have to go through them. I'm looking at I have a Command & Conquer for DOS. And actually, the pride of my collection for my PC boxes up here, Warcraft 2, the original, the DOS version. I have a giant box of that. I was so proud of getting that game. But yeah, this is where we're going back to nostalgia versus because I actually had a friend that was really into StarCraft 2. He never played the original StarCraft, but he really liked StarCraft 2. So I'm just like, you know what? I've just been playing Warcraft 2. Like, I mean, it's like, primitive, but it was a fun game. So I'm like, telling him, hey, just download it. We'll play it sometime, So you see what I used to play as a kid. He was playing that like once. He's like, I hate this game. It's like, the macros suck. The controls suck. It's like, you're using a mouse. Like, this is highly advanced for like when I was, first getting into PC gaming. So you have that generational gap there,
Definitely do.
That's exactly what that is. Like, it's generational. Like, you get someone like younger. So therefore, like, I can see how what we're doing is like more nostalgia than, genuine love for not like some of the games. Like something. Let's just say we bust out a game we haven't played before. Mm-hmm. Are we gonna love that just as much? The answer is yeah to me.
I mean, depends on I used
look
to
at Shovel Knight. Like, Shovel Knight's awesome.
Oh yeah, Shovel Knight's great.
It's basically they took the best parts of like all those old Capcom platformers and made it amazing.
Then you have Mighty Number 9, which is like what happened there.
They tried to make it too modern, and it just failed. Like with the voice acting and everything, it's like there's no need for voice acting. There's another thing, actually, I want to bring up. I read something, like, there's a clickbait article on Facebook. Something like, what games, like, we're missing back in the day, what modern gamers are thankful for these days. The list was such bullshit. It's written by a millennial that, basically I don't think owned a Nintendo, let alone ever played, like, any of these games. But basically, they were thanking because the fact that they have voice acting now. I'm just like, are you serious? Some of the best games I've ever played have zero voice acting in them. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy VII didn't have any voice acting whatsoever, and that's considered one of the all-time classic RPGs. Symphony of the Night, which I'll bring up later, had voice acting, and that was the only part of that game that was shit. The voice acting was terrible and did not add one thing to the game, and let alone the fact that most, all the text was displayed on the screen anyway, so it was pointless. So it's like, I understand it was a gimmick back in the day when in the 16-bit era, when you had, let's say, Super Nintendo, limited memory on the cart, they had a couple voice samples here and there. You thought it was the most awesome thing ever because, oh my god, he's talking.
That's new, at that time.
Yeah, just little grunts like they used to do in like games like Final Fight or
something. Or when they used to yell
like
in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, oh, ooh, oh.
Yeah, like even that kind of stuff, yeah.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was before,
Or it was like misheard lyrics in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, actually,
Mortal Kombat gibberish.
I had a Street Fighter 2 translation guide because no one could figure out what exactly everyone was saying. And they had to research the shit out of this, but they finally, got the official, even in Japanese, official terms. I
know, how else are you going to learn that it was, Tatsumaki Sanpoku or something? Yeah.
Which was I don't even know what that means. I think it's like spitting dragon kick or something.
Tatsumaki Sanpoku.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. I have the translation guide somewhere. It's in an old magazine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that was cool. That was awesome. But can you imagine? Would you like Street Fighter if before every battle they talked a la like Dragon Ball Z?
I think I would have been a little annoyed.
I would have been annoyed too, especially in the arcades. That wouldn't be the coolest thing ever. It'd be like, shut the fuck up, I just want to play.
Yeah. I mean, half the time when people play online with Street Fighter, they skip through the intros.
Exactly. You're just there to fight.
I mean, personally, if I'm doing story mode, yes, I want voice acting, but as long as it's good voice acting.
I don't care about voice acting. If you're doing a story mode, you can display text.
You can,
I don't give a shit about that. That's cool.
Yeah, because I think when I watched the Street Fighter V story mode, there was no text on the bottom. It was all just them talking.
Yeah, well, I guess it works, but you have to pay attention. But what if you have to have the sound off? Do they have subtitles or? You
can probably put them on in the options. I watch it on YouTube.
I would have to do that because not every time I'm going to have the sound cranked.
Yeah, I mean, I put
especially if I'm playing
on.
3 in the morning, and don't have work the next day. Playing 3 in the morning, something I don't want to hear the voice acting 3 in the morning most of the time. I just want to like see what's going on, see what I have to do.
Yeah, like I'll put subtitles on because I play games in Japanese. So, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
that's necessary.
yeah, but the cool thing is when you play the game in Japanese so many times, you kind of pick up what they're saying.
Pick
and
up the Japanese.
you pick up the Japanese. I started speaking Japanese to my mom once from stuff in the game, and she looked at me like, what?
You troll.
Yeah.
Learning Japanese, I think learning Japanese is like things.
And it's funny because I'm Greek and I don't speak any Greek whatsoever except for the curse words, a couple like hello, goodbye, thank you, please.
And the foods. Everyone
And the
knows
foods. Everyone knows gyro, not gyro, gyro. But anyway, and suddenly I started speaking Japanese at home.
Did you really think so?
I mean, a couple words.
Come on, no one's,
God, I hate you.
That was him.
I hate you too.
Yeah.
Balloon doing that, and then you totally missed it, and then I just brought it back.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Yeah, because you can't really see him in the corner over
He
there.
can't see. He's John Cena, that's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but now they
that's the
have-
same thing. It's like
Japanese.
this is the same thing. The voice acting was one thing. Cutscenes were another.
Oh,
like in that.
God. And the thing is, I like cutscenes too. It's
Cutscenes go back to, I don't know, Ninja Gaiden. Everyone tried to get through those levels just to see the cutscenes, really, because that was like, awesome. But the cutscenes for them was just like text on the bottom, and you see like all these images here and there. That was the coolest thing ever. But again, maybe I'm going nostalgic over. Like, would this hold up in a modern setting? Like, would a kid these days like pick up this game and enjoy this? Maybe I'm just going nostalgic instead. But cutscenes, those cutscenes were cool. Like, Final Fantasy VII, it was awesome. Like when you had the full motion video, because that was fairly new at the time. It was used in Sega CD games, but it wasn't that good.
like when they started using like anime cutscenes and Chrono Trigger, I thought that was the coolest.
Oh, that was awesome!
I thought that was the coolest.
Because that was
thing.
done by the artists that did Dragon Ball Z. Like, the studio...
Akira Toriyama.
Yeah, Akira Toriyama designed the characters. But, no, that was done by, like, the Dragon Ball Z studios, and that was the most awesome thing ever.
I loved it. I was like, can I get, like, a full-ass anime out of this?
And then all the hidden ones, when you get the hidden endings, like, you got the hidden cutscene as well. That was amazing. See, it's like, stuff like that adds to the game. Like, I don't need a cutscene just for the fact that it's a cutscene. Like, I'll go like fairly modern. We'll do God of War 2, we'll say. Like, I liked God of War 2. It was a fun game. I could still like sit down and play through it again, but God of War 2 had this thing where like you reach a certain part and it's like a cutscene where basically Kratos yells at whoever he's fighting, or something similar to that. It advanced the story. They were pretty cool, but after a while it felt like they were just putting him in just because they had like a contractual obligation to put them in, not this really needs to be here like right now because this is so awesome. This is just they didn't do a cutscene for a while. They have to do a cutscene. And after a while, like, games just kind of got like that where, everything's a cutscene. It's like, you have to explain this, you have to explain that. Like, here's a cutscene, this is another cutscene here. I'll just get me to the action.
Nikki, I think you were saying one of the Yakuza games had that problem?
Yeah, like, pretty much games like Yakuza and, like, Metal Gear Solid would just be, like 20% game, like
80%
cutscene. It was like a full-ass movie.
It got ridiculous after a while.
I think people liked it with Metal Gear Solid, though. That kind of worked.
I did like it with Metal Gear Solid. I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 3, and it was like a full cinematic, and I was just like, I put my controller down, and I was like, sat back, had my popcorn, just watched, like...
That was the other
And then
thing.
your controller started vibrating
Yeah.
and fell on the floor.
Yeah.
That was the other thing, actually, the article covered, which, again, was the most stupidest thing ever. Most of these modern games are like movies. Like, they have movie productions where they have to hire all these voice actors. They have to be produced like a movie, all the commercials you see while you're watching whatever sporting event you're watching, or, whatever show. Like, when they have a game advertisement, it's just straight up cutscene after cutscene after cutscene.
I'll sit down and watch
Mass
a
Effect.
movie.
Yeah, it's like basically you're playing an interactive movie after a while, like in single player mode. I mean, like, I'm sure multiplayer is different But single player, it's like you're playing just a 2, 3 to 4 hour long cutscene.
I remember Metal Gear Solid 2 actually having a later commercial, like where they actually show gameplay and it actually spoils the final battle.
Oh yeah,
I know a lot of modern
That could be
games.
an interesting idea. Cutscenes in a multiplayer game.
I'm sure they exist.
They exist, I'm sure.
Like a lot of new games now are like hiring like legit actors, making them into 3D models and putting them in the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they're making these movies. I mean, like they have the technology to make this like work. Unfortunately, just like everything that is a good idea at first, like it turns into a hit, and then all like it's mass produced to the point where it's not even significant
Last
anymore.
of Us.
Last of Us. And Final Fantasy 15, before the game even came out, people were talking about the voice acting and everything. Before there was even gameplay video, voice acting and story is like voice acting and story. We care about the voice acting. It's like it replaced graphics at this point because graphics are guaranteed to be good. At this
That
point.
game is gorgeous, though.
Yeah. Graphics are guaranteed to be good because the technology exists where you can't make a graphically inferior game anymore. So no one's talking about the graphics. Everyone's talking about the voice acting now. It's like, the voice acting, the cinematics, has to be like this. And it's like, no, this isn't like the essence of video gaming. Like I was like, if I was like 10 years old and in the NES era and seeing some of these games, I would be awestruck. Like that was awesomely they were able to do this, but after seeing it like so many times, I was like, I'm so bored of these games. I just want to pick up a controller and play Ninja Gaiden again.
Like that was one reason why when the Zelda game Wind Waker came out for the first time and the graphics came out, people were like, "What the hell is this?" Because what they did was they sacrificed graphics for gameplay. I mean, it's one of my favorite Zelda games.
I think that's why Nintendo's kind of like in a distant third to Sony and Microsoft.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a different generation of gaming now. Everyone wants,
Nintendo still has that old school philosophy of, game first, like graphics and voice second. But, I mean, like, that's what's selling, though. Like, you could
Big time
we could
production
we could sit here and complain about this all we want on this podcast. Call of Duty's still coming out next year. Another Call of Duty expansion set.
I'll tell you one reason why I'm so bitter about Call of Duty. Do you know why? Because Call of Duty made me miss Magua the last time they came into the country. I'll never forgive them for that. I had tickets to see this band called Magua. Call of Duty usually comes out around Veterans Day that week or so. For whatever reason, they decided to push it to the week before. So I had to work Call of Duty Day. I had to miss Magua. I'm salty. Don't.
So you missed it because of work.
Your butt hurt.
It's Call of Duty's fault. I'm blaming you, Activision.
I just, what it is. Like, I'm not even going to complain about Call of Duty. I'm just going to put it to you this way: all these games sell.
Such a salty shit. These games do sell. Come on.
All these games sell. That's what it is, essentially. These games sell. These games are going to sell. Some kid, 10-year-old, or we'll go 15. Some 15-year-old is going to walk into a store and, get his 18-year-old brother to buy him Call of Duty,
Grand Theft Auto.
Or Grand Theft Auto or something like that. They're going to buy these games. Like, the game companies know this. They're going to keep making these games. That's fine, all well and good. It's just like when I buy a system, I just want to play the retro style games. Like I want to play Shovel Knight. I want to play like the Manos game, which looked pretty cool.
Actually,
games like that. I want to play. That's what I want to play. And only the indie designers are really doing that. But you know what? That's okay. But at the same time, I don't need like clickbait. Like, our games are so much better. Fuck you. Our games rocked like back in the day, and our games still rock to the point where I could still play this. No kid is picking up Call of Duty that came out like 3 or 4 years ago and playing that. They're playing the newest one. And it's the same thing with all the Madden games. Madden 2K17 is out.
Whatever.
No kids picking up 2K14. They're on sale at the GameStop for 99 cents. Same thing with Defeat the games, everything. No one's playing these old games because, everything's outdated, So it's basically, we've created in pop culture and video gaming a disposable culture here where people buy these games, they last a year, and then you go immediately on to the next one. Whereas, games back in the day, you're picking up Ninja Gaiden in 2017, and it's still awesome. So that's why I give the finger to that, like, it's just nostalgia bullshit. Because some of these games held up.
I could understand with the sports games because you're watching that on the new teams on TV and like, hey, I want to play with those. I can
There's always new
that.
stats too for everyone.
Yeah, but obviously you have the money factor. But why not just release an expansion disc? Hey, these are the updated rosters for let's say you have.
Have they done that at all for any game?
NBA does it.
They
NBA,
put out like expansion rosters like during the season, like
they'll
player
put out
gets
patches.
hurt, they'll put out a patch into the game where that player is unavailable. But they'll make it like concurrent with like what's going on that season. Once the season's over, they'll reset the rosters, and it's like, all right, you're on your own until the next game comes out.
Yeah, they have like trade deadline patches where like if say like say in like the most oddest situation, what's that really good basketball players, Curry gets. This is never going to happen, but
Stephon
theoretically,
Curry gets hurt. Let's just say,
no,
or
not
traded.
even gets traded to the Sixers. Let's say. One player will go here, one player will go there, blah blah blah. They'll put out a
patch
a patch,
where they're on
trade
their,
deadline patch.
Yeah, the trade deadline patch where they're on their respective teams there. But then they'll just put out a patch at the very end of the year where basically they reset the rosters and they want you to buy the new game. They want to make this game obsolete.
One thing back to where I was discussing going to Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, a lot of people do like to play Grand Theft Auto 5. When it came out, it was one of the biggest launches we ever had at GameStop. We actually had people walking from one store, like our coworkers walking to one store to another because we actually ran out of copies 3 times. However, when you talk to the average Grand Theft Auto player, they're not going to mention 5. They're going to go back to Vice City. Because that's also like nostalgic, it's... more...
Vice City was an awesome game.
Yeah. I mean, it's arguably one of the best in the series.
Actually, they'll talk more about GTA Online now, because that's what they want to play,
Yeah, but I would always hear more Vice City than Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto 4, whatever else.
Yeah, San Andreas. Even when San Andreas came out, everyone was still hooked on Vice City.
Right. Yeah.
It was just a well-designed game. But yeah...
the one that you and I played?
I have both of them. We tried to play both of them.
To get more onto, get away from sports games. Like, we'll use, again... Well, we use Call of Duty. Let's just say, what game came out like maybe 3 or 4 years ago that you would apply to this?
I guess you could say Halo.
Well, Halo's always being played. Like, I mean, no one's gonna break out an Xbox, Xbox 360 and play Halo 2 again.
Yeah.
Unless, someone might.
Some people still do. I think. Well, some people still play Call of Duty World at War because I think that was the first one to have zombies in it.
Yeah, but
this is pretty popular. So Dark Souls, maybe.
Original
a lot
Dark
of people
Souls?
have moved over to 3.
Yeah, we'll say that.
There's also Demon Souls, Bloodborne.
A lot of those players have also moved over to Neo as well, which was a 10-year in the making game. Finally came out.
There are exceptions to this. Like, we could talk about Skyrim, and people are still playing Skyrim.
And now that they're about to put out a new copy on the Switch,
they're still playing it.
Yeah,
They
the Legendary
remastered
Edition.
It. Yeah, that's all well and good. But there are exceptions to this. But for the most part, most of the more popular games coming out nowadays are disposable. Again, the last Call of Duty that came out, Overwatch is probably going to be disposable in 6-7 years. Blizzard has been pretty good with that, though, to be honest with you.
Destiny.
Yeah, Destiny's a good one to say. Destiny's, no one's going to be playing it in 3 years.
And the thing is, when the game came out, it was so ambitious. They were saying that we want this game to be live, online, and lasting for 10 years worth of DLC, patches, etc., etc. People got sick of it in 2 months.
Yeah.
Titanfall was another one.
to be fair, a lot of these games are really long and arduous sometimes, so people don't necessarily want to go back and beat it that many times. It's not like back in the day where we could turn on our Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and beat the game in a couple hours.
Yeah, this RPGs that still take days upon days on end. Like, again, going back to like ways we were grinding through Phantasy Star 2. That takes days to finish. Like, you're not going to finish that in an afternoon. Like, fortunately, they have a save feature, but yeah, you're not going to finish that at all in an afternoon. But, yet people are still going back and playing them. So it's like, that game wasn't... Well, RPGs are a different breed, too. A lot of RPGs are definitely not disposable. Like, people will go back and play them. But... a lot of these, like, online games, like a lot of the first-person shooter games, these are very disposable. It's like 80% of these titles are disposable to the point where, 10 years down the line when everyone has a PS6, like the brand new PS6 virtual reality machine, they put on the helmets and
they're all playing Dead or Alive bouncies with their machines.
Exactly. They're not going back and playing Destiny. They're not going to do it. It's just going to be obsolete to the point where no one's going to pick it up and go, I remember this from back in my childhood and want to play it. It doesn't seem like this culture is... Are there really any games out
there now that people are going to look back like how we did back then? Besides,
Skyrim's one of them.
Maybe Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Basically, in Call of Duty, they're going to look at the franchise as opposed to any individual title. But... Well, let's put it to you this way. Who out there is a big Call of Duty fan playing it online that ever played the original first Call of Duty for the PC? Not many. Not many people have. It's like, basically like anything in our culture these days, it's like, they've released a lot of disposable stuff. Music's the same way. Like, a lot of these pop artists are going to put out a hit that's going to be a smash hit for up to 2 years, and then poof, no one's ever going to listen to it ever again. Like, it's not going to be saved in an archive anywhere.
Who listens to Uptown Funk anymore?
Yeah, it's not going to. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to go like, listen to this back in the day.
Who listens to Blurred Lines?
Give it about a year, that song will probably come back.
It comes back every once so often.
Again, there are exceptions to every rule here, but it's just, this is the reason, I think this is exactly where we got to. Like, this is why we have a 240p Club podcast, and why we're discussing some of these games, because most of these games is not a nostalgia thing, but most of these games are timeless. I could pick these up as an adult and be just as entertained with half these games as I was as a kid. And even some of the newer, like ones I didn't get to play, like, you track down like all these lists of games that I didn't have back in the day, that I've never played, and finally you get a chance to play them, to playing a 25, 30-year-old game for the first time, and it's awesome. Like, I'm picking it up as a controller, like as a kid. So, I mean, you have like nostalgia's part of it, but the reason why they don't make games like they used to, I don't think, and I could honestly say I don't think they ever will make these games again. Except for like some of the indie designers who aren't really as motivated by sales. They're just motivated by getting enough sales to keep them afloat, That's why Shovel Knight was so successful. That's why some of these other games, Double Dragon 4...
Those are also being more mass-produced because they're not being held down by the companies.
Yeah, exactly.
So
basically, they just have to get them on Steam, and then poof.
Other things like when they go back to the old games like the Mario 3 hacks, the Mario World hacks, there's tons of them out there.
That's why a game like Super Mario Maker did so well.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's why everyone's like...
That was pretty much the response to all this. You want to play games? Okay.
We'll let you make one, yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
We're going to get paid for it.
Yeah, and people went nuts with that. It's still popular. It's the most popular thing that was ever produced for the Wii U. So,
I mean, they remade a couple Zelda games, but that didn't reach the popularity as much as Mario Maker did. Even Yoshi's, there was a Yoshi Yarn game that actually did pretty well, too. It was really cute. I have to show you this, Mel. It was so cute. I think they did a Kirby's Yarn also, I think.
On Wii.
Yeah. It was really cute. See, it's games like that even when you have the original Nintendo franchises doing games like Yoshi's Yarn, Kirby Yarn, what else is there? Like Mario Maker, games like that. When they're putting out, even like Breath of the Wild, people went absolutely like batshit when the game came out. Like when Nintendo keeps pushing out new games of their original franchise, Super Smash Brothers even, people just completely flock.
That's the thing with Nintendo. Even though
that's a classic game people always come back to. Smash Bros.
Absolutely.
God, I go to
Nintendo gets it. The Nintendo definitely gets it.
I go to Temple University. Everybody in the game room is playing Smash. You got like six different TVs. Smash.
That's. They started an argument there where, Nintendo is never going out of business. They may eventually, like if their consoles don't do too well, they have to restructure like Sega did. But they'll always be a games producer, and those franchises are worth millions.
I've actually heard that in Japan they're doing like much better.
Oh yeah.
Well, Nintendo's attached to smartphones now in Japan, so a lot of players have kind of not moved on from consoles, but have begun to choose games on the smartphone over console.
To be fair, as well with that,
that's probably
like the modern
Switch idea. We'll make it portable. That's what you want.
It's not really portable though. I mean,
it's not really portable. No.
It's only you could pick it up, play it for like an hour, and then plug it in a different house. And play it. But no, it's actually leading to the point where Nintendo. Nomad was great. Like it's a portable Sega Genesis.
Power was supposedly like that.
Probably 8 batteries like handy.
Yeah, it did, like the same Sega Game Gear did. So obviously the Nomad is definitely eating batteries. But it was nice even with an AC adapter to go over to your friend's house, have a Sega Genesis right there, and just play it like in the corner when you feel antisocial. Yeah, we have modern gaming now, modern technology. I was able to fit most of my classic library onto a PSP. Don't ask me how I did that, but that's cool and work when you can just sit down and play some Genesis games while you're on break. You don't have a console, you don't have to bring your PC or anything like that. It's just, it's awesome. But this basically gets down to it where Nintendo is creating consoles that are like people's second choices. Like people that are like avid like Xbox gamers, they're not going to buy an Xbox and a PS4. At least most people don't. You're going to buy one or the other. But half the time, if you own one of those systems, you'll go out and get a Switch. Nintendo knows this, and that's why they're still like
I want that
very
Zelda.
much afloat in the video gaming market.
I want that Zelda. I'm going to have that Zelda.
Everyone wants that Zelda game.
I'm going to have it.
Anyway, I think that's it for tonight. To continue on, we are doing an ambitious project. It's probably not going to be the next podcast, though. It's going to be a couple podcasts from now. We are interviewing medical professionals that we, interact with, different different fields. Talk about like the effect video games actually have on a person. Like we're talking more about like the physical aspects of video gaming, like what happens when you play this game, what happens like to your back when you bend a certain way holding a controller, what happens to you when you sit onto a couch like 8 hours playing like a video game. What happens to your mental state when you play a video game for like 8 straight hours. Basically, positive and negative, like how it affects your brain chemistry, how it affects your body. Talking about like lack of exercise and all that as well. But yeah, we're going to go cover all the bases in the medical fields about video games, and it's very ambitious because we can't do this alone. We have to talk to some medical professionals in order to get everyone's opinion, and even still, it's not going to be completely covered. We're not going to cover completely everything. So there's definitely room to expand, and medical opinions, of course, they vary depending on your physician or different medical professional. Medical studies like give different results. So basically we're just doing the core of what video games do to your health, and look for that in an upcoming podcast. In the meantime, check us out, facebook.com/240pclub, 240pclub.com for all the podcasts. We're also on iTunes, Twitter at 240pclub, twitch.tv/240pclub, and we do have an Instagram now, which Nikki maintains.
Yes, I do. Follow us on Instagram.
It's a very angry Instagram.
Angry emotes only.
Angry emotes only.
Anyway, from all of us at the 240p Club, we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.